Now I'd like to welcome candidate Dianne Heath of District 1. Yes, District 1, I'm sorry. Yes. Candidate Sam Davis will not be joining us this evening, but candidate Racine Heath will be answering the questions as were presented. So we don't have to go back and forth, but we will give you a minute to gather your thoughts in between the questions. Okay. So thank you for your presence and participation. At this time, you will have 90 seconds to introduce yourself to the audience. In your introduction, please include experiences you have had that have prepared you to run for the Board of Education. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dianne Heath, and I'm District 1. For the past 4 years, I've been serving on the Board of Education, and I'm excited about having the opportunity to serve for another 4 years. I graduated from Elkton High School just a couple of years ago, and my children graduated from Bohemia Manor. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration from Salisbury University. And long before my role on the board, I was involved in our schools. I participated in committees at the school and the board level, and I coached the girls varsity softball team at Bow Manor, and I also coached softball in the community. I'm passionate about our schools and our students, and I have and I will remain committed to making our school system the best it can be. I confess that these events are a bit of a challenge for me. I enjoy interacting with people of our community, and I love talking about our schools, but I don't consider myself a politician. Our school board has been, and I believe it should remain, nonpartisan. I have one charge, and that's to make our schools the best that they can be, and I've devoted the last 4 years to doing just that. Like you, I have political leanings, but I do not believe that the school board and nonpartisan position is the place to pursue them. I care very much about your thoughts, and I welcome all input, and I'm proud of my efforts to engage with all parents, staff, community members, and students. And I promise to remain committed to being available to everyone. Thank you.
One moment as we prepare your questions.
Okay, thanks. Just so you know, I heard lots of information out there in that back room. They're out there talking about their life, and I learned all kinds of stuff.
Our first question, as a Board of Education member, how will you collaborate effectively with the other 4 board members to build consensus and achieve positive outcomes for Cecil County Public School students?
Okay. Thank you. So I've been on the board for 4 years, and we have done, I believe, a really good job of sharing our ideas. Sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't, and it's always good, honestly, when we don't, because then we get to have great discussions, and that's what we do. I will continue to do that. I've been a coach and a softball player my entire life, and teamwork is something that I feel like is a specialty of mine. And I try to incorporate that in everything that I do. Building bridges is really important, and I believe that we need to do that in our board, as our board, and in our community as well. So I will continue to do what I've been doing and work with each of my board members like I have in the past. We will disagree, but we will also get to share our ideas and hopefully come to better knowledge, better learning from each other, and be able to make quality decisions for our schools.
Thank you. Our next question. Should after-school activities such as sports and music be considered a core part of a student's education, or should they be extracurricular activities that require additional fees?
So I believe that sports, music, and all the extracurricular activities are extremely important for our students. Not only do they make them a more well-rounded person, but they also help stress mental health. They're a vital part of our community and our kids. I don't think that they should require a fee, and I will do everything, and we were able to keep that from happening. And I can tell you a story about why. I have a softball player that came as a senior, she came as a junior to play, who's never played softball before. And she had a teammate that was a friend of hers that she wanted to play with. She ended up playing that season, and she came back as a senior, even though her friend had gone, and played again. And she was such a joy to everyone else on the team. She loved the opportunity to be on a team. And if she had to pay, that's a student who would not have had that experience. Because she would have said, well, I'm not good, I'm not going to play. So why, I'm not going to pay to do that, I'll go to work instead. But since she didn't have to, and she was welcomed, and it made a huge difference, I think, in her life and the rest of the students and her teammates. Thank you.
Thank you. Your next question. What are your top funding priorities for Cecil County Public Schools?
Well, I believe that some of our top funding priorities are going to be given to us. As many of you know, we have the blueprint. That is law, and we will be implementing a lot of things through that. One is our teacher salaries, which is a top priority. Our teachers are important. We need them to feel valued. We want them to understand that they're important to us. And so that would be a top priority. We also will be funding our early childhood education. We need to start our kids early. There's a lot of kids out there that don't get this. I didn't even realize this, honestly, until I was more involved. Obviously not everyone starts at the same spots. We have a lot of kids who, when they go home, they don't get help. And they don't get that early childhood education that many of us did with our kids. We read to them every night, but their parents they're working 2 jobs or whatever. So the opportunity to have our Judy Center come in and help families and help our early learners, I think we're going to see a huge difference in our kids as they benefit from that program. I also believe that we should be supporting the arts and our sports. Like I said, mental health is a huge problem, and I think both of those things really help our mental health. And I also want to do a lot more counselors in our schools if possible.
Next question. How will you determine the needs of our school staff, such as fair compensation, adequate staffing levels, and access to necessary resources and training? How will you address these needs?
Well, back to funding, right? Our budget is always a big topic, and I advocated for adequate funding for our schools. And first, I really appreciate and want to thank all of the community members that also went out and advocated for funding our schools. Our kids are important, our teachers are important, they make a difference in our community. So having that compensation the funding that we need to compensate our staffing and for training for them is important. It's going to be difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The next 4 years are going to be difficult. We're going to have to make decisions, and that's why I believe that we need experienced board members there who understand the budget process, who understand the resources that we have and the needs that we have. So being able to communicate together, to communicate with our superintendent, our leadership team is very important. And also being in the school to know the needs of our teachers, to know the needs of our students. And I'm in the schools, I volunteer twice a week at two different elementary schools. I'm involved in other committees, and it allows me to know where the needs are.
Thank you. Final question. How will you measure the superintendent's effectiveness in leading Cecil County Public Schools?
So we go through an evaluation process every year of our superintendent. There's goals that he sets for himself that we set for him, and we keep track through the year of, are we reaching those goals? Is he doing that as well? And again, being in the schools and being able to see how he interacts with the students, with the staff, with all the teachers, I get to see that effectiveness. School culture obviously is extremely important, and I see our superintendent being out in the schools, and I see him reaching out to the students. I see what he does, and I see his interaction with our leadership team. So every year, our board sits down and we evaluate the goals and whether he's reached them. So that's the measurements are in his evaluation every year. So that's how we do it.
Thank you. You will now have 1 minute for wrap-up comments. The clock says 1:30, but it's just a minute. The floor is yours.
Can I have just a minute? I'm going to take a quick drink if that's okay. It's a lot of talking all at once.
Let's reset the clock.
That's okay. My closing comments are going to be like 30 seconds. So thank you again for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to meet with everyone tonight. And as I said, I don't see myself as a politician. I see myself as an engaged member of our community. I know you care about our schools as much as I do. And I hope that together we can make a good school system even better. I'm happy to share my contact information with anybody who's interested, and I look forward to continuing conversations with you. Thank you.
We will now take a 15-minute intermission, so please feel free to visit the candidates' tables, have further discussions, ask further questions while getting a refreshment and using the restroom.